Alright guys, welcome to another episode. Today is August 20th and we're in the process of transitioning a lot of our cameras from corn and or mineral onto these mock scrapes. As a lot of you guys will know, there's going to be a huge transition for these deer in the next 2 to 3 weeks where they're going to be shedding their velvet and moving on to acorns and moving out of the cornfields and into deeper cover. So we're hoping to get out ahead of the curve and get some of these mock scrapes established. I got some rope in the bag this year. This is the first time I've ever used any rope or anything like that, and so I'm excited to see how well it holds scent and how well the deer can acclimate to it. So I'm going to walk you guys a little bit through my process of setting up these mock scrapes and putting them in spots where you can hunt over them. And then really fun, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the bucks that have been showing up and some of the bucks that I'm waiting for to show up, and what my hit list is probably going to look like this year. So we're going to get to work. It's hot and it's muggy right now, but you got to love August in Iowa. And this is a new permission spot, so super excited to see what's on here. But like I said, I got a lot of other cool bucks showing up that I can't wait to tell you guys about. Alright, well, set number one is hung. This is the typical ridgetop scrape. A lot of these deer are working around this ridge. Got some fingers over here behind us, and a classic inside corner here as well. So a lot of good deer features. I haven't hunted this farm in a really long time, so not exactly sure how it's going to work, but hoping to at least get a good inventory on the bucks that are using this. Alright guys, well, we just left that other farm and I came to the other spot where this is the clover and chicory plot, and just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update about 14 days after seeding the one plot ASAP, and then also show you guys this multi-year clover plot. And man, I just couldn't be more impressed. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, but this clover chicory mix is incredible for browse resistance and browse tolerance. Right now there's probably 10 to 15 deer that are using this plot each day, and you wouldn't be able to tell at all. It's a beautiful, lush clover plot. The agenda for today, other than showing you guys this plot, is I have a hard-sided blind I'm going to move over here just about 40 yards. And I have a really good feeling about this spot come October. Last year when I hunted this plot, the deer have a natural funnel of coming into this field, and so I'm just going to put it a little bit south of there and hopefully hunt out a northwest wind. So that blind's on a trailer, and I'm going to move that real quick, show you guys some of that food plot that I just planted, and go hang one more scrape before we get into some cool bucks. Alright, well, we just got everything set up. As you can see, the blind is behind me. We got one plot ASAP and multi-year. So it should have a really good variety of different greens, whether that's winter wheat or oats or brassicas or clover or whatever. We also have a water hole on this plot as well, so there should be a little bit of a mixture of everything. We've had a lot of really good timely rains here the last week or so, which is really nice, because right after we planted, I think we had 3 or 4 inches in one day, so that was almost a little bit too much. We had some erosion happen, but we were able to get that taken care of and reseeded. Brassicas look good. Some of the oats are starting to pop up, and wheat as well. So like I said, this is going to be hopefully a one-stop shop for these deer, and I'm hoping a lot of bucks fill into this plot come October and November, because the number of does in here is really, it's unlike anything I've seen before. So the fun part about this plot is, since it's an acre in size now, is how do we get these bucks in bow range? And as I mentioned, there's kind of a spot where the deer like to come up naturally, and it's actually right off this ridge behind me. There's a little bit of an oak flat in there, and obviously with the acorns producing, those deer are laying under those oak trees and just feeding and browsing throughout the day before they come out into the staging area plot and then head to destination food. So that's why I have the blind where it is. I'm thinking I'm gonna kind of pick them off before they get there, and I'm gonna put a scrape underneath this walnut tree, and with any luck we'll have something hit it. All right, well, the scrapes are hung. We got probably about 60% of them transitioned. I got the blind moved, the plots are planted, and a lot of these spots are shaping up for fall. So all we got to do now is wait, which is exciting. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and run down a little bit what I've been seeing on my stealth cams, what I'm waiting to show up, and what deer is gonna be on my hit list for this year. All right, guys, as promised, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about the bucks that I've been finding on my cameras for the last 2 months, and really the bucks that I'm hoping are going to show back up and be on top of my hit list for 2025. Last season, about mid-November, I swore to myself that I was done chasing ghosts, and I was going to switch my mentality to hunting the biggest, most mature deer that's on the farm that actually lives there. If you don't do that, it makes for a really tough season, because a lot of times you're chasing a buck that isn't even in the general vicinity of where you're going to be hunting. So I'm probably done doing that, unless obviously something crazy shows up. But what I am excited about is a buck that I call Cowboy. And last year, this old, mature, probably 6.5-year-old deer showed up on camera. Looked like he just got done with an absolute dogfight. And so that's why I named him Cowboy, after UFC fighter Donald Cerrone. And man, I can't believe what that deer blew into. If you guys can remember, I actually matched that deer's match setup last February, and unfortunately the squirrels got most of it. But you can tell is that deer had a lot of mass, and that's hard to tell in trail camera photos. And so having his shed antlers in my hands and being able to mix and match what the camera's showing is pretty incredible. And so that's probably going to be a deer that's close to the top of my hit list for this year. I know he's extremely mature. He's a really dominant buck, and so just watching him interact with other deer on trail camera, and obviously last year being in an absolute dogfight, that should be a fun deer to hunt, especially mid to late October into November. Another deer that I'm still waiting to show up, and one that could obviously be at the top of the hit list as well, is Mamba. And that's a deer that showed up last year in middle of September. Obviously when the corn dries out and the acorns are dropping, a lot of the deer move into the farm, and some of the deer move off the farm. And he was a buck that really called that farm home, and I had probably 3 or 4 different encounters with him last year. He seemed to be all over the farm, and I kind of guesstimated that he was 4.5 last year, and so I'm hoping he makes a big jump to 5.5. He's definitely got the frame to do it, but it's just a matter of time before he shows up, and fingers crossed he actually blows up like what I think he can. A few other bucks that are on the radar is that Twins buck. Had a few encounters with him last year as a 4.5-year-old as well, and he's another deer that really called that farm home. And then Betts, I was hoping he was going to make a pretty big jump from 3 to 4, but unfortunately he kind of stayed the same size. He just threw G4s, so that deer is not going to be on the target list for this year. And I'm really excited to maybe have an encounter with him and see what he can blow into from years to come. One buck that really made a big jump from 3 to 4 is a deer I'm going to call Slim. Last year that deer was on camera a handful of times in the summertime and early fall. Really unimpressive deer, just probably a 2.5 or 3.5-year-old deer. And this year he really blew up and added a ton of inches. But I think that deer is 3.5 or 4.5, and he's actually an 11 point now. So I'm not going to target him. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to call home this fall, but it might be cool to have a few encounters with him and see how he interacts with other deer. And then last but not least, the infamous flyer buck, and him and I kind of have a love-hate relationship right now. But 2 years ago, I was able to match up his sheds, have a few different encounters with him. Last year, I hunted a ton and never saw him one time. And it actually turns out the neighbor shot him in the neck, but unfortunately was not able to recover him, and that deer moved off the farm. I had a hard time believing that deer was even still alive. I didn't find his sheds. He really has been MIA ever since. But here early August, late July, I was able to get one singular photo of that deer. It looked like he downsized probably 20 to 30 inches. So unfortunately, I think that deer is on the downhill stretch. But one thing that's kind of cool is it makes us realize that, no matter how good the growing season may be, stress is probably the number one indicator and if these deer are going to add inches or not. Look at Slim versus look at the flyer buck. Same conditions, same farm. One deer was shot, one deer wasn't, and you can see just the impact that it had on antler size. I'm excited to see what's showing up. Flyer buck probably isn't going to make the hit list this year, and I really hope I don't even see him to have to make that decision, because I know that he is an old mature buck, but this is his worst rack by far. But it is going to be interesting to see the dynamic of the farm now that he's moved off, because in years past he has been a really dominant buck. So I'm excited to see what new buck shows up and maybe reclaims his territory and kind of dominates the area. So hopefully it's a big mature buck and one that we can target. But as I mentioned, now I have a couple of hunts here in Montana in the month of September, starting with mule deer and then going to elk in late September. And I'm super excited for those hunts. It's kind of where my mind's been here the last few weeks. After that, we're going to be rolling right into early October and preying on a cold front for early October, and you just never know what might show up. As always, I appreciate the support and thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below on what deer you're most excited to see for this fall. I know there's a lot of different deer and obviously some satellite farms that I hunt as well, but it's kind of too early to tell on if there's any bucks that are going to show up there and what those deer are going to turn out to be. But man, I just couldn't be more excited for this season, and now it's just the waiting game. But make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, appreciate the support and see you on the next one.